Welcome to Porch Talks, and thanks for joining me on this journey toward greater emotional and spiritual well being. Today, I'd like to talk about something called the hot cold empathy gap. Now, this refers to two different brain states. The first one, the cold state, is a state where you are in your most logical, reasonable, rational state of mind. And this is when you are not in the middle of an experience, but looking at an experience that you may be in or that you would find yourself in, and you say, this is how I would act, and this is how I'd like to react, and this is how I'd like to show up. And you a part of your brain, probably the prefrontal cortex, has it all thought out about what you think your best self would be in that situation. The second state is called the hot state. The hot state is when you're actually in the situation, and um, different fears, confusion, emotions, uh, past experiences may be triggered while in the situation, which is called the hot state. So this is an emotional state, or what we've called when you've flipped your lid. So this could be where you're confronting a boss, maybe to ask for a raise, and you said, it's very logical, and I know what I'm going to do and what I'm going to say, and I have all my arguments laid out. But when you actually are in front of your boss, let's say if you're a female and the boss is a male, you may feel emotions triggered that relate to power, related to men in your experience. You may have other feelings that are triggered that you're not fully conscious of, but you're not showing up in the way that you thought you would while in the cold state. So this gap between these two brain states is what I want to draw attention to today in this conversation. Now, we've kind of touched on this before, but what I'd like to say about it today is we often judge ourselves so critically because the way we planned to go into a situation, let's say a family holiday gathering, because this is the holiday season here in North America, and I want to be loving, and I want to really be and connect with family, and all these thoughts about how I want to show up as my better self. But when I get there and the interactions start and old stories start to become triggered within me, I notice that I'm moving into a hot state, and I'm not responding to situations or other people outside myself the way that I intended to. Now, what I want to say about that is this is not the time to judge ourselves harshly because we are experiencing a hot state. There's many things going on in the brain, in different parts of the brain, that are being triggered in that moment that take intentional practice to release those triggers. So rather than judging yourself harshly for going home for the holidays and suddenly there's bickering and arguments and things are happening not the way you wanted them to happen, I would like to offer that the time to practice the hot state is with smaller opportunities. I've talked about this before, like driving in traffic and noticing if what people do as they drive in holiday traffic and looking for parking and so on are those opportunities to practice managing your triggers, like people are crazy drivers this time of year, people are so impatient. That's the time to practice in the small things, things like taking a deep breath, remembering that you're out here to buy a wonderful present for someone you love and staying focused in that frame of mind, and bringing it down to a cooler and cooler state. So first of all, I just want to offer this holiday is not to judge yourself too harshly. If you notice hot states are manifesting and falling short of the way you hope to show up. And second of all, to give yourself practice in smaller situations where you can learn to take a deep breath, slow down, and have a practice of, as I said before, meditation or pausing or stillness, maybe before you get out of a car for a few minutes, before you walk into a building. As you're walking into a building, into a situation that may become hot, is being mindful of how you're walking into that situation. And give yourself a break. It takes some practice over time. The implication is also that we not judge others too sharply when they're in a hot state, because we know that when we're in our cool, calm, collected state, we know how we think they should show up, or we would show up if we were them. But to remember that when in a hot state, they're probably doing the best they can with the practice and ways of showing up that they've experienced to date, to the date of the event. So let's cut all of us some slack this holiday. And remember that we're loved, we're supported, that we have more opportunities to practice again another time, that the way we showed up this time perhaps didn't work the way we wanted it to, but it was an experiment, and we can try a little different or a little different adjustment next time, and to cut others some slack during this season, because we don't know the story that they live that brought on a hot state for them. There's no way we can know what they're carrying. So let's carry each other more this season in love and benefit of the doubt, giving one another the benefit of the doubt, and practicing for ourselves little by little the way we'd like to show up in the world with greater well-being and compassion. With that, I'll say happy holidays. Thank you.